A child's upbringing can make the difference on whether or not they grow up to be well-rounded adults. Unfortunately, not every place in the world is good for a child. Here are the 10 worst countries for kids to grow up in. Before we begin, show us your appreciation by subscribing to our channel. Romania. Romania is still trying to recover from the communist fall of 1989, and unfortunately, the country has been left in economic shambles. This has had a grave effect on the children of Romania, where many of them have been abandoned or orphaned. Many of the kids either live on the streets in bigger cities, in the woods, or if they're lucky, a village that is willing to take them in. With living without a family, kids can be vulnerable to abuse, kidnapping, human trafficking, starvation, illness, and child marriages. Niger. For children living in Niger, they only get about 5 years' worth of schooling. Also, because families are unable to provide proper nourishment for their children, health risks and illnesses are abundant. Niger also has a problem with child prostitution being on the rise, along with child marriages and female genital mutilation. While education is a priority in Niger, it leaves much to be desired, where the quality of education is so poor that families don't even bother sending their children to school at times. Mali. In Mali, 1 in 6 Malian children don't live past the age of 5. Half of the country's population consists of children, and about 36% of the population lives below the poverty line. Malnutrition is the biggest problem to blame when it comes to infant death, and females are still subjected to horrible rituals like genital mutilation. There is also a major issue in child trafficking as well as child labor. Most children end up begging on the streets, where they get kidnapped and abused. Somalia. Over 20 years of conflict have done everything but destroy the country of Somalia. 1 in 16 women have a chance of dying during pregnancy, and children only get about 2 years of schooling total. Somalia is one of the poorest countries in the world, with its citizens scraping by on less than $1 per day. Children are starving, and with famine and drought plaguing the country, the possibility of growing crops isn't even present. Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, only 8% of women hold parliamentary seats. But that isn't what makes the Congo one of the worst countries for kids. 1 in 30 women die from maternal issues, and children only get about 8.5 years of schooling before having to stay at home to work or become victims of child labor. The national income per capita is only $100, making it one of the poorest countries in the world. Uganda. If you're a child living in Uganda, you have the fear of one of two things: either having your family killed by groups like the Lord's Resistance Army, or getting kidnapped and turned into a child soldier or sex slave. While there have been numerous organizations created to help these kids get a shot at having a more normal, stress-free life, they can't possibly reach every child, and there will always be a few that slip through the cracks. Children in Uganda also have the highest orphan population per capita, and they are plagued with HIV, AIDS, and poverty every day. South Sudan. South Sudan is one of the youngest countries in the world, and yet has gone through some horrific turmoil to get where they are today. Many children were kidnapped by an armed group called the Cobra Faction, as well as being raped and exposed to illnesses like cholera. In other words, the children of South Sudan have had to grow up quickly and have had to face awful situations that most adults couldn't even handle. North Korea. North Korea exists under the regime of Kim Jong-un, and everything is controlled to an extreme extent. While there are schools for children, insiders have revealed that the children are being brainwashed into cult-like behaviors, and they are only being taught North Korea's version of history. Should a child want to break out or do something on their own, they are met with extreme punishment. In other words, the children aren't being raised to be people, but brainwashed minions of North Korea, ready to die for their country. Sierra Leone. The country of Sierra Leone has some of the lowest life expectancy in the world, and 70% of its people live in poverty. This tropical country was hit hard with a civil war that ended in 2000, and the country was one of the most prominent victims of the 2014 Ebola outbreak. Almost half of the children between ages 5 to 14 are working as child laborers. About 36% of the girls don't attend school, and 52% are illiterate. Syria. As most of us know, tensions and turmoil are high in Syria. With government airstrikes plummeting cities all over the country, families are desperately trying to get themselves and their children out. With children dying from drowning while trying to escape to children dying in airstrikes, Syria is one of the worst countries to grow up in right now. One of the most harrowing photos hit the news in 2016 when an image of a bloodied 5-year-old Omran Daknish went viral, showing the grim reality of Syria. Always be grateful for what you have and always try to help those in need in any way you can. Thank you for watching.